Alright people, I think it's about time we make some changes to my little workshop here. Let me show you what I have in mind. So, first of all, I should just say that these buildings were already here when I purchased this property. But at that time, I was more focused on making the house livable, so I didn't really do a whole lot to these buildings, and I just ended up using them as they were. But now they are just becoming way too small for what I'm doing, so I need to expand and give myself some more room and make things just more efficient. Oh, and I should just say that this part of the building right here, this was sort of there already, except it was all collapsed from just years of neglect. So me and my buddy, we tore out what was there and I put up this wooden building here instead. But it is pretty much the same size, except we made it a little bit taller and also a little bit longer now that we were at it. So at first, my main focus is going to be this old part of the building. There are some changes I want to make both to the outside and the inside. Now that we're here, we can start by this door right here. That's way too small to fit any of my vehicles, and it's also falling apart. These two doors have probably been in this building since, I don't know, 1950 or something like that. So they are way past expiration. It doesn't really open anymore, that door right there. And I don't want it there anyway, so I'm gonna remove that and we're gonna just fill up this hole. Maybe put a window in there, we'll see. And I'll probably still have a door here, but I just want a new one. And just peeking inside, I want to remove this whole wall here because this is separating this into a small room and another small room. So I want this gone. It's not really structural or anything, and I could turn this into one big room instead. So if I go and turn that into one big room in there instead, I can go ahead and put a nice big door in the end here so I can drive in this direction instead. And another thing I want to do is make this whole building as tall as the one back there that we built later on. And also, this corner right here, it has this little half roof coming off it. I've just been using that to keep my trailer out of the rain, because it's too low for any of my vehicles to drive in here, so it's pretty useless, this corner. So what I want to do is to close this off and make that a part of the building, and also make it as tall as the one back there, so I can have another door right here giving me one extra bay to get a vehicle inside. And another thing on the inside here, if I do make this into a door so we can get vehicles coming in here, I'm gonna end up opening up this wall so we can drive all the way through to the far end of the building. And the same out behind that wall, that is where the trailer is, where I will hopefully have another room that will be coming right up against this wall right here. I want to make a hole there as well so you can also drive all the way back in here. Now you might be wondering why I would go and divide it into several rooms like that. Normally you would prefer to have one big open room for a workshop like this, and that would be nice, but for the kind of stuff that I do, I actually like having several rooms. When I'm dealing with old rusty vehicles and a lot of metal work and stuff, it's nice to be able to separate it out in different rooms so I can keep better control of the dust and things like that. Also, if I have to paint something, I can close off one of the rooms and turn that into a temporary painting booth. Now that we're in this wooden part of the building, we can just talk a bit about that, because there are some things that I would want to change in here. Even though this has served me well, but I've just ended up using it a lot more than I expected that I would back when I built it. So one of the things that I'm really missing in here is insulation. There's nothing on the walls, nothing on the roof. There's even, you can see daylight coming through the bottom there. So even the wind is coming through in here, which means that whatever temperature it is outside, that's gonna be the same temperature in here. So it's really quite miserable throughout the winter. And another part is these two vertical posts in the middle of the room. Back when I put these in, I really didn't think they were going to be as annoying as they have turned out to be, but it's really quite a hassle to maneuver around these all the time, and it also limits how I can put vehicles in here. So I would really like to remove these and put a big steel beam up there instead. That should be able to span this whole width without this center support. And I would also replace those for some steel and make some nice corner braces and all that stuff. But I'm not going to start working on this stuff in here yet. For now, the focus is going to be on this old stone part of the building, along with a few preparations that will be needed for the changes that I want to make in here. So that is sort of the quick version of what I have in mind for this building. Now, some of you might already be thinking, well, why don't you make it a whole lot bigger? Or why don't you put up a nice extra building for this thing? And, well, first of all, I have limited resources. And, unfortunately, I don't live in a free country, so I cannot just go ahead and put up a big building. There is a whole lot of applications and tests and approvals and documentation and stuff that you have to get through before you can go and put up a new building like that. And the most expensive thing that you can buy around here is labor. It's people's time. So all of these people that have to get involved, all that bureaucracy, it typically ends up being much more expensive than the building itself. But what you can do a lot more cheaply is modify existing buildings. So that's why I'm doing it this way for now. So I'm going to be working on this project little by little over the next, well, probably several months. And step one is going to be to make some room for the stuff that I want to do. That means getting rid of this little half roof, and there's a bunch of stuff behind the building that I have to clean up. And also, the main reason that I'm starting to film now, I should just say it's at the end of February. I don't really know when this video is going to come out, but I'm starting this now because I want to get rid of these trees before we get into the spring. Because most of them are dead or dying, so they keep falling over and breaking off whenever we have a storm. So they have to go anyway. I may as well do it now to give myself some more room to work. If you need some new tires, just let me know. Well, it turns out I had a few more than I initially thought. Now let's see if we can get this thing going, so we can get that out of the way. This hasn't been running for a couple of months now, but I think I left it without fuel this time. Yep, there is pretty much nothing coming up there. All right, that's good. Last time it was a mistake to leave the fuel in it. Now we're getting something, and it looks like fuel this time. Choke cable is kind of stuck, so I can't really push it off from inside the car. There we go. All right, we are ready. Well, the poor thing still has what feels like some carburetor issues. But that's not really what this video was supposed to be about. We got this out of the way. Now, of course, I couldn't just go and move it. I felt like I could at least just warm it up a little now that it's been so long since this was last driving. Anyway, I was gonna start chopping down some trees, but now it's starting to rain. All right, so let's go ahead and chop some trees down. I'm gonna remove the stuff that is back here behind the building because I want to turn this into the new parking area for my trailer. Eventually, I'm gonna put a little roof over here to cover it, just like it has over where it's parked now, but that won't be until the very end of the project because if I have to put steel beams up inside here, I'm gonna end up having to redo this whole wall, so there's no point in putting a roof on it right now. So we're gonna chop these trees down and we're gonna dig up all the roots and level this area so we can park the trailer back here. And as for all the trees out here by the driveway, I'm not gonna remove all of them right now. I'm just gonna take some of these completely rotten ones and get those out of the way. There are a few young trees among them, so I'm gonna leave those and just let them grow. And I'm gonna remove probably every other tree, just opening this up a bit so I can plant some new brush along here, and once that grows up, I can remove the rest of the trees. Because we do get some storms coming in out from these open fields, so I do want a little bit of a windbreak out towards this side, so I'm not gonna remove it all at once. Let's see if this thing will even run. I haven't used this in, I don't know, 3-4 years or something like that. But I got it for free. Maybe? Look at that. Well, my free chainsaw finally died. The fuel tank just ruptured all along the seam, so that thing is in the trash. I just went and borrowed one off my brother real quick. It's one of those fancy steel saws, so now we're really set up for success here. this kind of bulldozering around, that's not really ideal. But right now I just need to clear my driveway here. It would have been really nice to have that 4-in-1 bucket on here so I could just pick these things up. It's just always windy around here. It knocked the camera down. This weather is never cooperating when I want to film outside. Alright, so that should be most of all these big roots out of this area back here. And I did also find the old well for the drains. Now don't worry, this stuff is not something that was in use, but I had suspicion something like this was around here because I have seen those drain pipes back when we redid this part of the building. And back then I remember it had an inspection pit in there. It was a very shallow one. It wasn't of any use to me, so it's just been filled in. But I suspect this was the drain for that, because there's really nothing else to drain around here. But this is not very pretty. I wasn't really trying to. I mean, I was just trying to get rid of all these roots. So now we just gotta go in and level this a little bit. But I'm gonna need some dirt, so I think I'm gonna take that right over here. I don't know how I managed to live so long without one of these machines. Because now that I have one, I seem to use it for just about everything around here. Right, so now I have this whole area back here behind the building all cleaned up, and now I have a nice plain area where I can park some stuff and materials. Well, it's not completely plain and flat. I didn't spend too much time trying to make this all even and nice. And I know this topsoil is also not ideal for this, and it's not compacted properly. This stuff will move around and it will get muddy. But I'm not too concerned with this. This is hopefully just a temporary thing until I get this building here sorted out and I can make a more permanent parking storage area back here. But it is already a bit wet, so to avoid disturbing it a whole lot more, I'm just gonna leave this and let it dry out before I start bringing stuff back here. You know, honestly, I would have never guessed that this would turn into some kind of gardening channel. All right, So with that, all the yard work is finally done. So let's get back to the buildings that this whole thing was supposed to be about. So, as much as I would really like to just smash this whole part of the building with the backhoe, I do also kind of want to keep these materials because this stuff is not as old as the rest of the building, so really all of the wood and all the hardware, it's still good and usable. So I am going to do the boring thing and just slowly dismantle this so I can keep all of those materials, because it might come in handy later on. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. This was just to kind of show you that this project is going to be going on, but I'm not getting fully into this just yet. This was just some of the preparations and some of the things that I had to take care of now before we really get into the spring season. But there are some things that I want to take care of first, namely the little Unimog 421 project. I really want to get that thing finished up so we can get it out of the building, first of all, so nothing happens to it, but also, wouldn't it be really cool if I could use that for parts of this project? But do let me know if you want to see these videos on this whole building project, because I am making these videos for you guys, so I do appreciate your input. But just know that video or not, I am going to be spending time on this stuff. And also one more thing that I want to bring up for you guys. I assume those of you who watch these kinds of videos, you're probably going to be the more regular viewers of this channel. And I have been thinking about maybe changing the name of this channel, at least just a little bit. Because it is called Team Army Trucks, and the reason for that is because initially I created this channel so that me and my buddies could upload off-roading videos when we were out doing competitions and stuff. But we pretty quickly found out that when we're out doing competitions and speed racing and stuff, we're kind of busy driving, so we really don't have time to film much at all. So the whole channel kind of shifted and became more about me and my personal projects and the vehicles that I deal with. So I figured maybe we'd change the team part of the name into maybe my name. Which, by the way, my name is Kasper Jensen, which some people have been asking. It's not a secret or anything, but it is a very Danish name, so it's a bit weird for me to say it when I'm speaking English like this. So it might just be my initials, KJ, which I often use to refer to myself when I'm speaking English. So it could be KJ's Army Trucks or KJ's Off-Road or something like that. Nothing's really decided yet. I've just been thinking about it and I want to bring it up for you guys. So do let me know down in the comments what you think about that. And yeah, I'm gonna quit rambling on like this, so thank you all for watching and I'll see you in the next one.